G'day, Inspire Gang. I hope you can see me. If you can't see me, please share. We are back for another almost naked conversation. And you actually already know the guest. So bear with me 1 second as I share this information so that most people can see it. Please share it around. Go to Dramaniac TV on Facebook and share this, and we will have an outstanding conversation on a very important topic. There we go. Ooh, I don't see a live there yet. Oh, there it is. There it is. So guys, bear with me as I share this out and make sure that more people can join us. Ooh, I see a live, but I don't see a live. Okay, that's funny. I don't want to tell you guys who the guest is, so I can't say their name right now. But I know my guest can hear me, so if my guest, if you're seeing the live video, please show me a thumbs up because I don't see it yet on Facebook. Do you see a live video? Oh, you are? Okay. I am not seeing it. Why? There it is. Finally. Facebook loves testing my patience. Thankfully, I am very patient. Okay, so let's copy this. There's no point keeping a secret. I actually have it in the description of the post itself that who my guest is. So guys, you know my guest is Eleni Anastos. She has been on another Almost Naked conversation with me before, and we'll be talking about my relationship with money. Let me actually read it, guys. Sorry. This is what happens when you do impromptu and live things. We just decided it. Give me, there it is. Okay. All right. Again, trying to share. Okay. So guys, this is another Almost Naked conversation with Eleni Anastos, and we're talking about your relationship with money and how to create healthy professional boundaries. Obviously, the conversation is hosted by myself, featuring Eleni Anastos. So I am bringing her in the conversation. Give me 1 second. Eleni, you're up in 5 seconds. There we go. There we go.
Hello.
There you are. Hello.
Hello, my friend.
We've actually been having this conversation already, guys, but we just love talking about these things, and it's just been such a valuable conversation that we didn't want to, not share the valuable information and knowledge. So, and just before we actually start, Eleni, just to check, have you closed your Facebook so that we don't have any slows or any? Perfect. All right. So, guys, we are talking about your relationship with money and creating healthy professional boundaries. And that conversation between Eleni and I started just a few minutes ago. And so take it away. Let's talk about it. Let's start.
Yes. I love doing the money work, the money conversation, because to me, it's one of the most intimate relationships you have in life, your relationship with money. But it's the one that most people never want to talk about. And that's why there's so many issues and so many problems. It's not taboo. And we need to become friends with it. We need to have, I've even asked people, if you want a rich and rewarding relationship with a spouse, with a significant other, with a business partner, with a client, don't you have to pay attention to them? So
Absolutely.
How do people expect to have this relationship with money if they don't want to pay attention to it?
Exactly. And funny you say that, because you know what? Partners, friends, business, everything else may or may not happen in your life. But money is with you 24/7. It's not a choice. At least in this world, in this version of the world, it's not a choice. It's something with us 24/7. So that's the most important relationship, other than life and death itself, that we have all the time. And it needs to be healthy. It needs to be, So I was talking to Eleni a few minutes ago, and we were talking about having situations where I am a person who likes to go an extra mile, and not just from this customer service point of view, I just am a person that I like to do a little bit more than what I promised, a little bit more than what I, contracted for, and just for a simple reason, it's not to do the people pleasing, not to make sure that the client's gonna stay with me and come, or come
Right.
come back or something, but just because I strongly believe if I have the capability, if I have the resources, and if I can do a little bit more to help somebody to gain a lot more in their lives, I want to do that. But there's a problem. And before I start with that problem, I have a feeling, Eleni, maybe our conversation from phone is still on. I think that's why I'm getting the echo. Do you want to check if our call from phone is still active?
Let me see. I have nothing else on here, no.
Okay, because I'm getting a lot of echo. I'm not sure why. Okay, that's fine. We're just going to carry on. So, yes, that is one of the biggest troubles I have faced when I am being generous. Um,
Well,
I
you're a
think maybe,
nurturer. You're a
yes,
nurturer. You want to give and care for, but without boundaries, after a while, there's going to be nothing left to give.
that's
And
exactly right. And
I
as I
think,
was saying, sorry, go on. Yes,
I say a lot of us that are nurturers, if we don't ever figure out how to put those boundaries in place, then we end up giving till it's all gone, and we've kind of defaulted into being a bank, but we're not depositing anything in there for ourselves. It's one thing if it's a constant two-way street, there's reciprocity. But
yeah,
if you're giving and giving and everyone is always taking, what are we left with?
exactly. And as I was saying, this is what happens. And I realized this a few years ago back in my life, that the biggest negative about not having a healthy relationship with money is, and not having those boundaries is, you do it out of a good heart. You do it because you want to be kind. You do it because you think, hey, I'm capable, and I have been helped, and if I do a little bit, it's not gonna do me any harm. But when you don't set a boundary, the harm begins, because then you don't know where to stop, and you're giving and giving, giving. And my negative experience has been, there comes a point you get busy with other things. You have priorities, and you have to honor other commitments as well, for
Yes.
other clients, for other friends, for other family, for other businesses. And while you're trying to do that, because if you are generous, and if you are committed to doing what you're doing, you're going to look after
Yes.
everyone, not just one person.
Yes.
But what then happens is, because you've been giving a lot more than you should have, you know I
Hmm.
usually hate using the word should, but it is that situation that when you start giving a way more than what should have been done, and you don't set a boundary, what happens is, when you then get busy and you have priorities and you have commitment, and that person who has been receiving a lot more than usual, suddenly they start getting less than what they were getting, but
Hmm.
their expectations have already risen. Their expectations have gone, this high, and suddenly that's not happening, even though you're giving what you promised, and still maybe a bit more. But in the process, because you've raised the expectations, you've been giving it, and suddenly it feels like you have cut them off the services, and
Well, and
tension grows.
it's
Yes.
enabling them instead of empowering them too, depending on the situation. Of course, every situation's different. But I
Mhm.
want people to be put back in the driver's seat where money is concerned. I want them to be empowered. And I think of cause and effect. Most people see, oh, money's the cause. I don't have money. It's the cause of my troubles, my situation, my lack. No, no, no. We're the cause.
Yeah.
Money's the effect. And if people
Yeah.
don't own that responsibility, it's going to be very hard to climb out of whatever, situation they may be in.
Exactly. And the thing is, not only that happens, the service provider. starts
Mhm.
getting stressed,
Mhm.
the quality starts getting compromised. Uh, and as soon as the quality is compromised, the service recipient starts noticing that on top of the reduction of service that they think has happened, which it hasn't, but
Yes.
because the level of generosity has been contained to a level, to a certain boundary, they already think they're getting less, and then they realize lack of quality, and then it becomes a vicious cycle of, I guess,
Yeah, it is.
sometimes blame games, sometimes bitterness, sometimes dissatisfaction, sometimes a whole bundle of everything together.
And it is
And
on both sides.
exactly. And here's the biggest negative that I see in that. In the end, what you started off out of generosity
Mhm.
becomes a regret. It becomes a regret, and you regret offering it, they regret accepting it, and the entire purpose, entire reason it all started is killed. So let's talk about that, Eleni. What can we do? I know I have learned it the hard way. I've made lots of mistakes, and and the biggest thing is the struggle to say no, or the struggle to say sorry, but I cannot do this less than this, or sorry, I cannot provide more than this under for this value, because there's more to it. It's and
Right.
I'll just give you the stage on that there's more to setting a boundary than just
Mhm.
money. So
Absolutely.
please, help us a little
Absolutely.
here.
And to me, it goes back to validating and honoring your own worth. Because if you validate and honor yourself, then you are comfortable giving when it's appropriate, when you want to, but you're also comfortable with boundaries. Like I had a client came to me once, and first words out of his mouth were, "I'm sick and tired of having to lower my fees just to get a customer." And I said, "I
Yeah.
have the answer." He said, "What?" And I said, "Stop it." Now, and
Exactly.
I thought he was getting ready to slap me, but luckily we were in a public place and he didn't. But the point was, he didn't realize that every time he lowered his fees just to be competitive with some other people, that he was, dying part of himself inside. He was shrinking inside. He wasn't valuing himself, and he was playing smaller and smaller, and he
Yeah.
was miserable. And he happened to be very, very skilled in his area of expertise. And when he kept
Yeah.
himself, lowering those fees, all he attracted to him was people that wanted the cheapest deal in town. They didn't care about quality. And that
and
kept
and
that cycle.
and this is the funny part, though. Like, it just contradicts what we just said. We agree on that they were not looking for quality, but even though they get the cheapest deal, they still start feeling the pinch of lack of quality. They still
Yeah,
start feeling like, was it even worth my time and money? Even
right.
though to it, and they probably started it because they wanted the most. Uh, I don't like using the word cheap. I usually say affordable option. I think that's my
Yeah,
branding and
absolutely.
marketing mind. They're looking for most affordable, um,
Yes,
but they're compromising the content, the quality, the
yes,
purpose. I think what I want to say is they're compromising the message that they
yes,
initially wanted to send out. And again, as we said, the vicious cycle begins and the quality goes down. It just keeps going negative, 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 lower and lower and lower. And it reaches to a boiling point where either it's a very bad break off, or
hmm,
you permanently lose a business relationship. And I think
yes.
it not only affects that relationship, it affects then everything else around you, every
Oh,
other project, every other
every
client,
other area.
and suddenly that becomes your personality, if you will. Well,
Hmm.
not personality, but that becomes how you deal with it. And
Yes.
it's a cycle that carries on, and it's not productive. It's not at all
No,
productive.
but I
So
feel it always circles back to, what value do you place on yourself, your own skills, your own worthiness, personally and professionally? Because I think how you do money is how you do everything. And if you're willing to lower your standards where the money is concerned, you're not standing up for yourself. Maybe I'll look at it from that perspective. Then where else in your life are you not standing up for yourself too? Not just with what you deserve to be paid.
That is so true. I think the underlying thing here is you start undervaluing everything about yourself.
Yes.
You just mark down everything. It goes back to you say I'm worth it, and you just indirectly start saying, am I worth it?
Mm-hmm.
You just start questioning, am I worth it? And you just go, oh, maybe I'm worth less, maybe a little bit lesser, maybe a little bit lesser. Maybe people are not coming to me because I'm too expensive. Or maybe if I'll go a little bit lower, they'll come and
But
then
I'm going to respectfully interrupt you right now, because
Sure.
it made me think when I hear somebody say, because I've heard that countless times, maybe they're not coming to me because I'm too expensive. I don't say that to myself. Am I the least expensive coach on the planet? No. But I know that I'm going to provide tremendous value, because I know my intentions are to get that person every result they possibly want. And then some, like you said, we want to make sure that they're fulfilled and they're happy and they get what they need. But I'm glad that I've learned, because it wasn't always this way. Oh, I can't put my prices at a certain level. Who am I to charge that? Well, who am I not? Because I know how much I care to give them what they need.
Which is where I will ask you a question that I have struggled with myself a lot. Before I came to realization that this is what I'm going to charge, because I calculated the value, the knowledge, the investment I invested, investment I made in my education, my effort, my research.
Yes.
So here's a question: a lot of people, we're talking about putting the value. People struggle with deciding what is the right value, what is my worth, what should I charge, and I had that question for a very long time. I just never was sure. Should I
Mm-hmm.
charge $90 per hour for a consultation? Should I make my consultation only 30 minutes and charge 150? And I have to say, I went from stages to charging only $20 per session for a consultation of 1 hour to charging $5.99 for 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the fun part. And I know after experience and after a lot of courage and error, trial and error and everything, I realize that it's not how expensive I am, it's the value that I'm giving, and
Absolutely.
what's the outcome they're getting after that session. But this is the question people ask themselves: how do I know what's my value? uh,
Mm.
how do we come, sort of help us with, like, how do we come to that conclusion? What should I charge?
And how people can charge what they're worth is very involved, is some deep work, but it is, to me, one of the most impactful things that can absolutely make a significant difference. First, I think people need to get away from all the comparisonitis, as I say. Well, if I'm
Mhm.
surrounded by people that are only charging this, then I can't dare charge anything different. But how do you
Oh,
know that the
I
service?
like that. I'm going to write that comparisonitis.
Yes,
That's
comparisonitis.
yeah. I'm just going to write that so that people remember that. Yeah, go ahead.
But taking the time to really circle back to exactly what you're providing and your intentions behind what you're providing. And I also believe, because for some people, especially when you're just starting out, it's scary. It's very scary to, can I raise my fees? And I believe in, stair stepping.
Yeah,
Don't just immediately start out at one level in your money. Say you're charging a certain amount and then think, with every client I'm going up. No, it needs to be comfortable, but it also needs to be a little bit of a stretch. Because if it scares the hell out of you, you're not going to be standing in your full power, and you're not going to deliver the way you can
yeah,
deliver, whether you have products or services or a combination thereof. So
right.
it's starting with something that's a little bit of a stretch, but it's not still honoring your intentions, behind that. But I love doing that kind of work, but it's got to feel good. Like you have to feel empowered. And if you're so afraid to even have the conversation, like I had a beautiful, soulful client. She was so talented and creative, but she was so afraid to even mention her fees. She almost apologized. It'd be like saying, it's $100. Is that okay?
Yeah.
No. But she was also being that way in every other area of her life, allowing people to kind of step on her, take advantage of her. And through doing a lot of deep work, she was willing to go there. I was so proud of her. She realized that she had adopted all these limiting beliefs from watching elderly people in her life, like parents, other relatives, struggle with money. Money's evil, money's the bad guy. So you got to look at those limiting beliefs. And when she realized, okay, I don't have to continue that legacy, and she learned how to confidently state her fees. Oh my gosh, she blossomed. She started making more money consistently month after month, because it wasn't that, oh my God, I have to talk about money. It was as comfortable as saying, pass the salt at the dinner table.
I have done that. So I know what you're talking about. I have done that. At times, I have taken a long time to get back to a client because I don't know if I can tell them that I'm going to charge you this much. I don't know how they'll react. What it does is, first of all, you're doubting your own worth. You're just simply saying, "Oh crap, am I worth it?" And that's where the damage begins, because you're already not believing in yourself and your worth, and then that gets conveyed when you speak to the client. They know that, they hear that, and as we were talking about affordability, then they start measuring, oh, how much lower can I bring them? So the focus goes away from the quality and goes to the saving, and in the process, maybe financially they saved, but the quality, the content, the actual outcome, I don't think that gets the delivery that was meant to be or intended to be.
Completely agree.
So agreeing with you, I will say from my experience as well that, when you're going out there and setting your price for the first time, especially if you're just starting, okay, for knowledge, for research, go and research what others are charging. Knowledge is power. So you should know in your field what people are charging. You should know in that money what services, what content, what value are they giving. But then you need to decide, how much research am I going to take? How much of my time will be involved? How will I create the relationship with the client? What's the effort involved? And what are the probable stages that we will go through with the client to get the final outcome? And then put a price on that based on your knowledge, based on your confidence, not based on, am I charging too less or too much compared to somebody else? Because that somebody else is not you. They are not doing the work. You're doing the work.
Right.
I have learned that. And I actually mentioned you in a couple of recent shows as well for the same thing, that I used to, as I said, I'm going to keep saying that I used to do that a lot, And sometimes it's because of generosity. Sometimes because I just didn't trust my own value and worth. And the result was, as we started off saying, I didn't deliver well. We were both frustrated. The outcome was not, So, and I'm gonna stop saying because Alicia tells me that's my crutch word. So that's what happened. So yes, setting your value is based on what you know, how much effort is involved. But then comes another question, which actually happens a lot with me. Well, not as much, but it still does. The fear of losing a client if my price is too high. And
yes. And I had that when I first started. Absolutely thought, oh, wait, if the number that I present, if the investment fee I quote isn't the right number and they're going to say no. And then I was filled with anxiety because of that. until I learned that that's not what I was doing for them. That's not what I was providing. It wasn't about the number. It was about helping them get to where they want to go. It was about the results they wanted to get. And I made sure, and what everybody should do is be so comfortable and rehearsed, for lack of a better term, with the amount of investment. So again, that you can say it. And I love the term passionate detachment. I was telling a client about this the other day, that you're still passionate because you love your work. You know you can help people and you want to help people to grow and to learn, but you have to be detached from the outcome, because if number, what's that doing to you inside? So we need the passion.
I think you froze for a second. So do you want to repeat the last sentence for the audience?
Yes, I think it's very important to be passionately detached. We need passion because, again, you know that you are very motivated to help that person to get them the results they want, whether it's professional or personal, but you can't place your whole value on whether they say yes or no to that number. And that's where the detachment comes in. So you maintain your passion, but if they say, that number's not going to work for me, are you going to feel like, oh my God, then I'm not worth it? No. Yeah. We've talked about so I say you should always own your own shit, but don't own anyone else's. But don't own anyone else's shit. Just own your own.
Exactly. Hey, Nico. Hey, Alicia. Hey, Heather. We have a few people join us.
Yay.
So that's right. Own your own shit, but you're not responsible for others. And it's just so important to, the detachment you talk about is basically just saying, just another term for, knowing the boundary, knowing how much you're going to give, where you're going to stop, and why I think the why is very important for me. Why am I stopping here? Why am I not giving more? Why am I not, increase? Why am I not still going on? Because that's where I think the psychological fight begins. You've got to stop. You've got to stop. Oh, no. I want to do more. I don't want to disappoint my customer, or I don't want to ask them for more money again. I think that's the fear. I don't want to ask them for more money again. I wanted to stop here. And, in the process, as you talk about the detachment from outcome, we lose the focus on the outcome. We lose the focus on the actual content, and we lose the focus on respecting our own value, and the same vicious cycle begins.
Well, it's being detached right from their response. It's because that, to me, then you're placing all the value on your service, on the deliverables. That's where the value matters, on the results that you believe you can take them to. And honestly, I believe, and I've learned for myself, if someone says, no, I can't afford it, is it really about the money? It often isn't. So you have to be willing to explore that as well, from both sides. Because think about everything you've been through. I think about everything I've been through. If you really want something bad enough, you figure out a way to make it happen. And granted, not everybody's a right fit for everyone else financially. I completely acknowledge that, and I respect that. But I think
talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Everybody, I may not be the right provider for you. You may not be the right client for me. And I think people go with a lot of, oh, I can't turn a client away. But I think not every client is your client.
No.
So let's talk about that, because you can't just, everybody who's walking in the door, you can't just have them as client. There is more involved. There's so much more you need to look at when you're accepting a client, right?
You do. I think it's important to have a niche, have that focus. And because it is too easy, and as a nurturer, yes, I want to help anyone and everyone, but it just might not be the right fit. I mean, if you have a certain specialty, say that you're a certain type of doctor, an eye doctor, but you want to help everyone, and somebody comes in with a hip issue or a foot issue. Well, you're not the right doctor, right? So there's always going to be someone else, I believe, that can help that individual. And I think the right match has to make sense, but it still goes back to, you have to value yourself, and you have to be comfortable enough to say, this probably isn't the best match. And you can
Right.
always, refer someone to someone else. And there's nothing wrong with that. And there's no fault on any side to me. It's still, because when you come from a place of service and you have a pure heart and you're in integrity, then you want what's best for that person. And if you know you're not the right fit, then you're going to lovingly tell them, I think, someone else would be a better match for you. And to me, that's staying in alignment. It's all good.
Yeah. And it's funny we talk about that because, whoa, I'm getting a lot of echo. Give me 1 second. Let me see why. You're not getting any feedback, are you?
I am not.
Okay, I am getting a lot. I have no idea today. BeLive is playing with me, and Facebook BeLive and Facebook are not being friendly to me. Whoa, that's a lot of feedback.
Well,
Okay. Bear with me. That's really annoying me. I can't even talk. I'm just like hearing it so loud.
Okay. Well, perhaps we can continue on another day at another time.
No, that's okay. I'm just gonna see what happens. Okay, so let's continue. If it's too annoying, I'll just stop. So yes, help me with regaining my focus.
Well, I was talking about, it's one thing to honor your own value, own your worth.
Yeah.
Because not enough people do that. And I know I've been guilty of that as well. But it's also important to understand and accept that not everybody's a match. You might not be the right service provider. You might not be the right person to help that individual. It's not a matter of, if I just lower my fees a little bit more, they'll say yes. No, maybe it just wasn't the right fit. So
exactly,
devaluing your skills and your expertise just to get a yes, that's disempowering. You've given all your power externally. And, I don't think in any area of your life you can function very long that way without it really taking a toll.
And, speaking of which, this is why in 2014 on my website with every project, I actually added a statement, compatibility questioned, where I said, this offer is valid and everything, but there is one condition that I hate to say the term refuse, I may not accept your project based on compatibility question because maybe I'm not the right service provider for you. Maybe you're not the right client for me, and it goes back to the same thing that we were saying. So besides that, there is another thing. When it comes to, and you were saying this, when people don't have a healthy relationship with money and the boundary, professional boundary, there's more going on. The same thing is happening in personal life as well.
Yes.
And it affects them throughout, throughout the spectrum, because probably that's what they're doing in their personal life as well, in their friendships,
And it has such a deteriorating, effect. Like my beautiful, soulful client that couldn't even state her fees to a customer. She just couldn't stand up for herself. That was completely bleeding over into her personal life. Her significant relationships, the vast majority of them took advantage of her because she didn't stand up for herself. And when she transformed her relationship with money and was able to confidently state her fees with her clients, she was also standing up for herself in her personal life. And literally just a few months ago, she ended up marrying the love of her life because she wasn't afraid to stand up and say, this is what I want, this is what I deserve. It affects all areas without question.
Right. And there's a post that you recently made about a client who said that you have lifted them from coma of complacency. Do you
Yes.
want to talk a little bit about that and tell us what's that about? Because I think there's a really beautiful story, and it's really empowering for people to know. It's really important they understand why
Yes.
somebody would think that they are actually in a coma of complacency.
Yes. Yes. This individual is a beautiful soul, very, very talented. And I think when certain things in life happen, and I do believe that in general things happen for our growth, that we can learn and grow from it. But it's easy to feel, beaten down after a while when you have a lot to deal with, personally, professionally, health wise. And in general, it's easy to get stuck in that I'm okay with being okay. We're
Yeah.
okay. And then it's kind of that big exhale. Okay, we're okay right now.
We
And
settle for something less than what we deserve.
right, but you're okay. And if you've been through traumatic experiences in any level, whether it's professional, personal, mental, physical, you're sometimes so grateful just to be okay that you kind of stay there, and without realizing it, you've been stuck there. It's like at least there's nothing traumatic is happening. At least, there's nothing earth-shattering or serious happening. We're steady. We're okay. And then this beautiful client realized, wait a minute. This also means I'm not going after my dreams. This also means I'm
Yeah.
not serving all the people I'm supposed to serve. This also
Yeah.
means I'm not living the life I desire. And that's when he said, oh my
Because
God.
everything is just a settlement. It's
Yeah,
not a goal. It's not an achievement. It's not a determined work towards a destination. It's just like,
right.
oh well, I have this now. This is working. Let's just settle for that, right?
Yes, that's just exactly settle. But,
So I know I don't want to give people free coaching and everything, speaking of which, but I just want to ask you, what are some of the steps people can use to overcome this hurdle of, settling this, to try and stay focused on where they need to be and not just settle for less than what they are capable of, and settle for fee, settle for quality. What are the few things that people can do to sort of overcome that?
honestly, first I would ask people to be really honest with themselves and reflect, like, what do you think about when no one's around? What do you dream about? Because there's almost always more inside people than what they're sharing or what they're going after in life, professionally or personally. And if it's in your thoughts, if it's in your mind, it's in your heart, then there has to be a way to express that. So really take the time to honor, the dreams, the thoughts, the passions that are inside of you, and get it out, write it out. Think about, what that vision is, personally, professionally. Don't be afraid to do that. And ask myself every day, what am I doing today to get me closer to my goal or closer to my vision? Because if you are stuck in that coma of complacency, you're just kind of existing. But if you're not, but if you're not afraid to ask yourself, what am I doing today to get me closer? Which means you're still going to be pulled forward. And I love to tell people to make decisions from where you want to be, not from
Yeah,
where you're currently at. Because if you're in a
yeah.
state of lack, I can't do it, then you're not going anywhere. Make a
I think
decision
the
from
first
where you want to be.
realization is to. Sorry, I just
No,
interrupted
that's
you.
okay.
Um, I think the first realization is to not get too comfortable with where you are at right now, just because, and ignore the original goals you had, just because, oh, this is easy, and this is, I know I'm not where I should be, but at least
Or I'm
I'm
too
safer.
old.
Yeah, like you get a sense of safety, and you don't want to take further risk. you feel like, okay, I've achieved enough to not struggle, but
Yes.
maybe you're still struggling, because that's what growth is. If you're not constantly growing, what is comfortable today is going to be less tomorrow and lesser day after, and you will reach at a point when it's a struggle to be in that place. It's a
Yes.
challenge to remain in that place, and then you realize, oh crap, I didn't do enough to stay relevant, to to keep growing, because
Yes.
that's why we started. That's why, again,
Yes.
that's what money is about, to keep getting better at what we're doing, keep giving more, keep getting more,
Thriving.
and
Yes.
yeah, and yes, thriving, that's the right term, to keep
Yeah.
thriving and keep progressing and making sense of the entire word called goal, you know.
Yes. Because there has to be some friction for growth. So
Absolutely.
I want to be uncomfortable with just comfortable, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, no, it does. It personally makes to me. Speaking of which, I will say comfortable and uncomfortable, perfect segue. There are situations in business and in professional life where you do things out of generosity. You do things because you
Absolutely.
believe you're doing something great. You're going to make a
Absolutely.
difference. But there comes a point where you realize, oh, I need to tell this person or tell this client that what you're expecting is, it's a lot more than what we agreed to, and you get to the stage where you're uncomfortable telling them, no, I cannot
Mhm.
give more for the same value, or no, I cannot keep charging the same for what you are actually receiving, because you're expecting more than we
Mhm.
agreed. You're demanding more than what we agreed, and it's also taking more resources on my end to deliver what you're asking for. So, do you have any tips on how to overcome that uncomfortable
Yeah.
situation and tell them,
Well,
well, you need to pay more now?
and I do believe in being very charitable, having a charitable heart and giving back. But it's extremely important not to confuse your business with your charity. So if you decided I'm doing this out of just the goodness of my heart, my charity, that's wonderful. Give whatever you want to give. But if that line's been crossed into business, then the conversation has to be, look, I know this is the fee that we agreed to previously, and this is what was delivered. However, as the business has progressed or time has gone on, this
Mhm.
is what I can offer you, for current rates, whatever that is. And you can still provide tremendous value, or even a, quote unquote bonus or savings, if you
Mhm.
will.
Sure.
But I think for you to lay or when I say you, obviously any entrepreneur, business person, is to lay each piece out, acknowledging, look, I know this is what you were given at this fee, and this is what I can give you now going forward. And I want you to know how much, you're appreciated and valued. But it's also acknowledging, so you're acknowledging you got a great deal. I gave you a lot. And you're
Yeah.
still acknowledging, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get you the results. But it's also putting the worth back on your own services.
And that's where I think there's also the difficult, I guess, point or a situation sometimes where you've got to decide, I've got to stop giving service to this client, you
Mm-hmm.
know, because maybe the negotiations didn't go through well. Maybe the client just takes it for granted that you're just going to keep giving it at that price, and you're just trying to upsell. But you've actually got to say no. And you and I both know saying no is a very difficult thing for a lot of people out there, including myself. Especially when you have a generous heart, when you're
Absolutely.
kind, you know. So I think it's crucial to understand yourself first. Now it's the time for me to say no. The moment has
Absolutely.
come to me for me to say no. Unfortunately, I can't do this at this price. No, unfortunately, I cannot continue. I love working with you. Okay, I'm just going to backtrack a little. Do you think that that also is a negative, that when you try and over explain why you're saying no?
Correct. Absolutely. Absolutely. No is a complete sentence. And the more you
In
explain,
so many ways, in so many ways, in every part of our life, you know,
yeah,
a no doesn't mean you're impolite. It
no.
just means I can't do that. I cannot agree to what you expect of me. You know,
Mhm.
here's a question I have, and we're going to wrap up very soon. When you're saying no, when you're telling the client, or when you're telling yourself that, okay, I can't work with this person, there's a fear that we deal with. Oh, I'm going to lose this client now. I'm going to have less income.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
I see it a little bit differently. And this has happened to me. I've had those fears. Oh crap, I'm going to lose the client. That upsets my
Yeah.
budget. That upsets my goal.
Yeah.
But what I'm not seeing is that also opens other opportunities for me to focus on something else, more clients, more people. So, like, isn't that the truth, that we get so scared of, again, same comfort of having as many clients, that we don't want to let go when we know that it's actually
Yes.
being counterproductive. So,
Yes. And it's
how do we
actually,
deal with that?
to me, it's coming from a scarcity mindset that there's just not enough to go around. And the reality is there are more than enough clients out there if that's what you believe. But if you have that scarcity mindset and I can't let go of this one or that one, even though it's not a right fit, even though they struggle paying you and it's a might be a contentious relationship for other reasons. But to reinforce what you were saying, if you don't release them, then that right client who's supposed to work with you and you two hit it off and you can hit it out of the park together, how's there going to be space for them? To me, it would be like, you're dating the wrong person, but you don't want to break
Yes,
up with them. You don't want to be alone. When the fantastic partner you're supposed to be with is one step away, but they can't come into your life because you're hanging on to that one because you don't want to be alone. It's a
that is
scarcity
such a
mindset.
great analogy. Such a great analogy, because that's exactly what happens. We compromise on relationships, and that goes in business as well, because
Absolutely.
we don't realize, yes, this is not working. Maybe there's something even better out there. And I think
Yeah,
there's another thing. We get so much experience with that negative experience that now we are more empowered to handle similar situation better, stronger, and know when to stop, know when
absolutely.
to, we can see the red signals, we can see the red lights. Oh, whoa, 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 that's not that. No, 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 I don't want to go there. That's wrong. Stop, go back, change direction. You know. So I guess, just to wrap this up, I guess
Mhm.
to have a business, to have a healthy relationship with money, first thing is you've got to accept, and you've got to accept your own worth. You've got to value your knowledge, your experience, your research, your effort,
Yeah.
and you've got to come out of your comfort zone to be able to say, well, this is how much it is, and I need
Mhm.
to do more, for which I need to be paid more. And there are times when we say to the clients, well, prospective clients, unfortunately, I don't think I'm the right service provider for you, or I cannot provide you what you're looking for. And I guess in the end, again, knowing when to stop, knowing when to actually go, okay, no, I can't do that. So, in a closing statement, Eleni, what would you say to a startup person, a person who's just starting off, or a person who's restarting something because they feel they
Mhm.
have failed constantly? Um, what is one key, I guess, mantra they can keep in mind when they're starting off and they're struggling with all these things, to stay focused, stay firm, value themselves? What can they do? Like, what's one thing that they need to keep in mind before they start or restart?
Keep in mind before they start, I always go back to intentions. And if your intention as a business owner is to help someone else succeed, which I think it should be for all of us, regardless of what industry you're in, if you have that as an honorable intention, then that to me is the foundation for learning how to charge what you're worth. So always go back to your intentions, not the comparison. Well, I've never done this before, or I've never worked with that person before. But if your intention is to get them the results they want and need, that's where you start with charging what you're worth.
Right. So, Eleni, how can people get in touch with you if they need more advice and if they want you to coach them into getting the strength, getting the clarity, and creating a healthy relationship with their money and the boundaries that they need to set? How can they get in touch with you?
Yes, you can find me here on Facebook, LinkedIn, and my business is businessinsightsnow.com.
Let me just type that up so that people can check that out. So that's businessinsightsnow.com. And of course, they can just search for Eleni Anastos on LinkedIn, Facebook, and did you say Twitter?
No, Facebook and LinkedIn are my two main focuses.
Perfect. So people can just go to businessinsightsnow.com, get in touch with you, and any help with, defining the boundaries, setting the right price, respecting your relationship with money, and respecting your own worth, your own knowledge is, they can get in touch with you. And so thank you so much for coming on such an impromptu conversation. But I think people would get some value from this. And I look forward to having you again on something else, or maybe again on this show again and again, because there's so much knowledge, value, and strength you have to offer. It's just amazing. I have to say before I go, you're a beautiful person inside out. And you have personally helped me overcome a few challenges, which I haven't even spoken about for years. So, guys, if you are watching, if you watch the replay, Eleni is the person to go to find that strength. She is kind, she's focused, and she will tell you when it's time to say no. So, thank you so much, Eleni.
Thank you, my dear. Bye.
Bye. So that was Eleni Anastos, and that was another Almost Naked conversation about your relationship with money and having a focus on what you want to deliver and knowing when to say no. We will be back again next time. I don't know when that will be, because that's the beauty of this show, Almost Naked Conversation. It's impromptu. It happens just any time when I have some healthy and useful and inspiring conversation. I just bring people on. I just ask guests if they are willing to come on, and we just hop on and discuss. So once again, if you need to get in touch with Eleni, please search for Eleni Anastos on LinkedIn or Facebook, or you can go to her website, businessinsightsnow.com, just exactly as the words are spelled without any spaces. So businessinsightsnow.com. Thank you, guys, and I will see you next time. Until then, keep inspiring. Bye.